you. Get it away. Take it through in the kitchen as if you've got time to sit there and sip on a cup of tea while you're doing mobility work. Get it away. Right, this morning, mobility overhaul 88, we're working on the squatting mechanics, which, whether you squat or don't squat, you do squat, trust me. Whether you're exercising or going about your day, you're going to be moving through that movement pattern. It's an essential movement pattern, but yet there's so many of us jammed up tight. We're born with the ability to sit into a rock bottom squat and just sit there chilled out, good form, good posture. We are born like that, but we let it go through laziness, inactivity, and of course, the horrible seat. Okay, we sit in that seat and we lose that form and that mobility. So let's get it back, okay? That's up to you. You should be striving to get it back because it's a very important movement pattern. If your squats are crap, you can do something about it, whether you choose not to or not. Well, you're here now, so I'll take it as a yes. Get your foam roller. We're going to be smashing through the calves and ankles this morning. I want everybody to get their foam roller, get onto one leg and start roughly pretty much on where the Achilles is. Everybody's happy with that, okay? Everybody's happy where the Achilles is. Bottom of the heel cord feeding into the heel. We're there now, good. Right, all we're going to do is simply start applying a bit of force, and how much force you apply really depends on how bad things are. You might not need a lot of force down into that foam roller for pain to start creeping in, maybe even severe to high pain, okay? Now, I'm going side to side. Maybe you can't see too well, but I'm going side to side, going the full width that I can, working on that muscle tissue, and it's done by feel, okay? Someone will ask how wide do I go? It's pretty obvious, okay? Go as wide as you can, you'll hit the bone. Go as wide as you can, you'll start to come off the muscle tissue, okay? So do it off of feel. So all I'm doing here is I'm trying to simply smash out the tissue into the foam roller. Now, as I say every time we do this, this is not relaxation, everybody. This isn't you turning up for a nice chilled massage. This is you trying to feed some goodness back into your body, and it demands that you put the work in, okay? The more pain and discomfort you can tolerate with this, the better. So I'm pushing down hard into this foam roller. If you're finding that that force alone isn't quite enough, or you could handle more, get that other leg on top. Use the weight of the other leg to help smash down even further. Now, all I'm doing here, I'm going side to side, going up about ½ an inch, going side to side, going up ½ an inch, side to side. If I find a particular problem area, as in a spot that makes you almost squirm with pain, you focus on that area, okay? And I want you to use all the techniques at your disposal. We're going to scrub it. We're going to do a little bit of smash and flossing by moving the foot around, okay? The ankles, this is not new to people, okay? Smash and floss, contract and relax the muscle the whole time. You're just trying to get as much weight and force down into that foam roller as you can to break up that area of high pain, and there will be areas of high pain. Now, we're going to be spending a wee while on each part of the leg. So I want you to try, in the space of 5 minutes, work the full length of your lower leg. So I want you to go from between the ankle to the knee, okay? That is your area to work on. So make sure you're attacking all those areas of high pain as best you can. Don't waste time, okay? Do not waste time farting about, rolling on the foam roller, making it feel nice, get stuck into the problem areas, and you'll get something from it, okay? So you can see, again, you know the techniques at your disposal. Find an area of high pain, try to smash as much force down into the foam roller as you can while relaxed. That's every time, and that is the most important point. It doesn't matter how much force you're putting down. If that muscle tissue is not relaxed while you're trying to do all these techniques, you defeat the purpose slightly, okay? We need it relaxed, and all I'm trying to do is just grind up any areas that feel like they're tacked down and restore a bit of suppleness into the calves. This is what we're doing first and foremost. Breaking up any tight spots, any restriction in the muscle tissue, we're going to smash it. Now, unfortunately, that involves a lot of pain and discomfort, okay? But like I say, the more pain and discomfort you can handle, the more you're going to get out of this one. Pain and discomfort, again, common sense, is isolated to the area that we're working on, okay? It's pretty obvious wherever this foam roller jams into, if it's a knot, it's going to feel pretty horrible, okay? We shouldn't be getting any other sort of untoward pain. Expect to feel. So go for it, please. Try to get as much weight as you can and work from down at your Achilles all the way up to the knee joint, but I don't want you putting the foam roller behind the knee joint, if that makes sense. Don't want to be starting to jam it in there. So work up the full length of your calf. You'll find there's problem areas all along your journey up. We're trying to stay on that area of high pain where you feel an improvement here, okay? An improvement being less pain. Now, whether you realise it or not, if you do it properly, the pain might not be completely gone. In fact, if it's that bad, it probably isn't going to be gone with one foam rolling session. But what you'll find is if you can put a lot more weight on that than when you started, okay, that's an improvement. So rather than just quickly skim around, rolling on the foam roller, up and down with no real kind of focus, no real sense of direction, from top and stop off at every little bit area of high pain that you encounter. Remember, when we start to get higher up onto the gastrocnemius, as in the actual thicker part of your calf muscle further up the leg, don't forget obviously the width of that. Get right round it, okay? Use the foam roller's width, and that should allow you to attack the full width of that muscle tissue. And again, it's not rocket science. You're trying to get the muscle tissue onto the foam roller. So you go as wide as you're able to until you hit the bone. Okay, and you might just find there's a few problem areas out there. So this morning, we're focusing on squat mechanics. So what you'll find is we're hitting all the muscle groups that I personally, from experience in dealing with people, are the main culprits for affecting your squat, plus a few ones that are going to help all-round movement. But ultimately, you'll hear me harp on about the ankles, everybody. The importance of your ankle mobility in a squat is very underestimated, and a lot of people don't even realise. But if your ankles are tight and your ankle joint isn't able to move freely forwards and backwards, as you descend into your squat, your knee can no longer bend, okay? If your ankle can't continue pushing forwards, your knee won't be able to bend. So when your knee stops bending, one or two things will happen. Your heels will either start creeping off the ground and or you'll start falling forwards, okay? If they're that bad, you'll lose balance, okay? So you hear me, if you've been following for a while, you always hear me harp on about ankle mobility. And ankle mobility is something that's so easy to get, improve and keep on top of. It's easy. It's not like it's one you have to go and set something up and go out your way to do. You can do it every time you're walking up the stairs. You can keep stretching out your calves briefly. You've got walls all around your house if you're in your house. Get your foot up there, 2 minutes each side randomly. Okay, it's as simple as this, lying on the foam roller and just smashing it into the foam roller. It's an easy one to keep on top of. But the give from it and the take, well, for me, it's what keeps my squats going. It's what allows me to hit good depth in my squat. Why do you want good depth in your squat? Well, if your ankles are that tight, you'll often see most people aren't even descending anywhere near to a squat, or their muscles are actually working in the lower leg to any degree. Most people start to lean forward, they start lengthening out the hamstrings, and they start putting a lot of work into the lower back, okay? And it just becomes a kind of bow, okay? There's not much leg activity going on. But also, if you've got that much restriction and tightness in your ankles, which again, a lot of people do, that's going to cause you all sorts of problems. Knee problems, ankle problems. And when I say ankle and knee, I mean anything feeding off of those areas also. So the amount of people with knee pain, show me your ankle mobility, don't have any. It's probably a big contributor. Your knees have been put under a lot of stress and strain. Okay, start thinking. I'm going to give you, well, I better tell you, we've got 30 more seconds. So at this point, I would say to you, you should be pretty higher up in the calf, okay, unless you're dealing with a real problem area further down, in which if you are, don't just scrub over it. Get stuck into it still, because remember, you can separate this in, you can finish it off. You never finish it off. You can continue it, should I say, later on in the day. So again, for most people, calves, lower leg, ankles, a pretty brutal one to be foam rolling. And if it feels like it is pretty brutal, make it brutal. Remember what we're trying to do here. We're not after a nice chilled massage. We're trying, as brutal as it sounds, to crush up that muscle tissue and restore a bit of suppleness to it and get it moving the way it's meant to move. If there's any restriction in that tissue, okay, then you're going to struggle. So take a quick breather and then change legs. I'll quickly show you, okay? So if you keep an eye on my ankle here as a squat, you can see the importance my ankle joint has on getting me down into depth of a squat, okay? If my ankle can't freely move, for most people it will start to jam up. My knee can't continue pushing forwards. So if my knee can't continue pushing forwards, what happens? Okay, my heels either start coming off the ground and I start squatting to depth like this, okay, where I'm putting tremendous strain on my knee, or I do a bit of this where I don't bend my knee and I continue down by doing that, and I call that a boot camp squat, because that's one that I see a hell of a lot at the boot camps, okay? People just simply bending forwards. All you're doing there is working your glutes, hamstrings, and lower back in a very ineffective way, okay? We're not getting the quads loaded up, we're not loading up anything in the legs so much, and that's all stemming from the ankles. Work on your ankle mobility, and a quick test at everybody. If you're not sure if your ankles are restrictive, the simple thing to do is just to get a couple of books. In fact, I'm going to show you right now because this is important. A quick test for your ankle mobility. I'm using weight plates, okay? You've got books or something like that lying at home. Raise your heel up, just your heel, and squat. If you find all of a sudden you're squatting to much more depth and it feels a lot like it's moving a lot better, you feel a lot more balanced simply by raising your heels, then you need to work on your ankle mobility, because all that's doing is giving you a quick hack. It's giving you a few extra inches of mobility for free. Now you'll see a lot of people squatting like that as if it's acceptable. It's okay to get you started. You can start squatting with weight. It's not going to affect your movement patterns, etc., your muscle memory. But a lot of people squat on plates or with raised heels indefinitely, okay? Simple stretches, bit of mobility work. A couple of weeks later, you'll have the mobility you have with these without needing them. Simple, okay? So get your ankle mobility done. I can't say it enough. Even if you don't exercise, well, imagine you do though, because you're watching this, so what are we talking about? Right, we're going to change. So spending a good bit of time on the ankles, because ankles, in my opinion, like I say, are very important in your squat. And for most people, it's the biggest problem area. So we're going to get stuck in again. Start down at the Achilles. Just start going the width. Okay, really go the width. Get right into the nook and cranny of the bone, where all the soft tissue is. And just slowly start moving the foam roller upwards towards your knee until you feel an area of high pain. Now remember, you need to have a decent bit of force on this. So if you're just going side to side and you're not feeling much, get a bit more weight on and just be sure that it's not just the fact that you're not pushing down hard enough on the foam roller. So again, it's done off a feel, it's done on you. You've got your own painful spots, or you might not. I'm pretty sure you will. You'll find some problem areas within here. When you do, remember, the goal is to get as much force onto that problem area. Keep the muscle relaxed, and then when you feel you've got a decent bit of force, that's when I would recommend just start doing the smash and floss. Point the toes, making circles, doesn't really matter, but you can feel it. Again, it's done off a feel. If that feels pretty disgusting, it's probably doing me some good. So, ankle mobility for a lot of people is something they're not really aware of until they start exercising with someone who is, what's the word? Need to choose my words wisely. Someone who's on a personal mission to eradicate bad mobility. Not so much from people, if you're quite happy with your mobility and it doesn't bother you. Most people don't moan about their mobility. Most people moan about the result of their bad mobility without ever doing anything about their mobility. Oh, I've hurt my knee. Oh, I've pulled my calf again, for like the third time. As if after the third time it's still not a warning sign to them. They know it's a mobility issue, but yet they'll sit, they'll rest, they'll let it get better, and then as soon as it's better, what do? They just go back to doing what they were doing before without addressing the root cause of the problem. I mean, for me, like I say, yep, it's great. We've got the luxury of the people that are doing the mobility class. We've got the luxury of an hour to do mobility, okay? That's a luxury, I would say, in this time in life. But it doesn't take that. 2 minutes each side. If I know my ankles are tight, which they always are, as in if I don't keep on top of them daily, they'll seize up. And to me, that's important, because when they seize up, I'm going to start seeing some big differences. in how I move. And also, I know when they seize up because certain pains and aches start to creep into the ankle joint itself and the knee, again for me. So the motivator behind it is, all I need to do, 2 minutes each side, a bit of this every night, a couple of stretches on the stairs or against the wall, and that keeps it at bay, and that takes all of what, 5 to 10 minutes. And again, you can incorporate that into your day. You know, I'm certainly not having a go, but we all say we've got busy, hectic lives. Yes, most of us probably do. But it's not a case of block booked, okay? There's going to be moments in that busy, hectic life where you're probably picking your nose or scratching your head. Concurrent activity, everybody. Get your foam roller out while you pick your nose or scratch your head. Incorporate it into your day, okay? That's the best way to do it. Just incorporate it into your day. So don't put your foam roller in the cupboard. Don't put the little ball away in the drawer. Keep it out. Keep it somewhere where you can see it. Take it with you. Make it part of your day. And you're more likely to do it. Rather than telling yourself, oh, tonight I'm going to do an hour's worth of mobility. And then tonight comes, you've had a busy day, and the last thing you want to do is mobility. And then it might not get done. Still plenty of time left. Keep working. Keep grinding through it and keep trying to get some goodness out of this. And that is, again, down to you. One of the worst things you can do, one of the worst activities you can do for ankle mobility is, believe it or not, running. So whether you run or not, if you've had decent ankle mobility and you start running, you'll notice it straight away how quickly your ankle mobility deteriorates. But if you're a runner first, like again, I've encountered a lot of people that run, you can see them straight away again. So it's like I'm talking bad of people, I'm not. Again, from boot camps, as in my face-to-face boot camps, you see people from all sorts of backgrounds, life, etc. Straight away you can spot the runners when they're squatting, because they've got pretty much, this is not all runners, they've got pretty much zero ankle mobility. You can see it straight away. They can barely bend their knees when they squat. But again, it's not something, you know, I'm not having a dig at people for having bad mobility. For a lot of people, they're just not even aware of such a thing. They're not even aware of mobility. They're not aware of this stuff. They're not aware of how their body moves or how it should be moving. Most people are just aware of the pain in their knee or the pain in their Achilles or something like that they get day to day every time maybe they're out running. My Achilles is always sore, okay, but I've got zero ankle mobility. So you start putting undue stress on different parts of your body. So in terms of running, if you do run, keep on top of this daily. I mean, if you run a lot daily, at the bare minimum, you can't do any more than that, but you'll notice a huge decline in your ankle mobility if you just start running. And it's simply because you work your ankles repetitively through a very limited range of movement. So they seize up in that limited range of movement from the running. So it's important, keep stretching, keep smashing. But again, that's nothing to do with running, just in general. We all need it. Right, start thinking about finishing up. I'll give you 30 seconds. So we're spending a good third of the class at least on ankle mobility this morning, because it is the key player, whether you realise it or not, in your squats. And if you're not sure, like I say, get those couple of books out, or a couple of weight plates, whatever. Squat with your heels raised. See if they feel it. If you feel straight away it's like night and day, then you've got work to do with your ankle mobility. Good. Right, let's finish up there. Put that to one side. Right, get a sip of water. We're not finished on the calves, ankles. Now everybody, this is a nifty wee one that I enjoy in a sick sort of way. So I'm always telling you, you know, we're trying to feed slack. You might find that your ankle joints feel tight, okay? and you might be doing all you can, you're foam rolling, you're doing all your stretches on the ankles, but you just don't feel like you're getting a lot of improvement, or you just want to improve your overall mobility. Remember, I'm always telling you we can feed slack up and down, okay? So by restoring a bit of slack up here, it's going to feed down and benefit further down into the ankle. So don't forget that. If you're spending a lot of time around here working on your ankle mobility, you've seen an improvement, but maybe it's not going quite as much as you want. Don't forget you can get a bit of slack, feed it down, and this goes for any part of your body. Feed it down or feed it up simply by restoring it in a different area. So we're going to do this one. You might have missed it last time, but it's a pretty nasty one for most people. All I want you to do is get your massage ball, put it right in the back of the knee joint here, okay? Push it in up into the knee as you bring the knee in and wedge it there, okay? Now you'll notice, again, it depends on the size of your leg, okay? For most people, that ball will sit bang in between the two tendons at the back of your knee. You can feel those tendons. It's like a little pocket. The ball will sit in there. That's where I'd like you to start. Now, we'll just get into the harder version, okay? I want you to pin the foot flat on the floor and just simply push forwards, okay? I want you to push forwards so that you all of a sudden put a hell of a lot of force into this ball. Now, we're going to feel, you might feel it in the hamstrings, but I think for most people, you'll feel it in the calf muscles themselves here. So this is a great way to get a hell of a lot of force, a lot of compression force, pardon me, into the ball. So what I want you to do, without letting the heel raise off, try and close that gap down, crush the ball, and when you feel you can handle it, try pushing the knee forward more, okay? And now you can do a little bit of in and out to try and just ease yourself in. But ultimately, all this is about is getting as much compression force into this ball as you can. And by all means, move around within it, okay? Try and grind up that muscle tissue, okay? So you can see me doing little circles, and this is just brute. This is nasty, okay? Now, I've put you in the center of behind your knee, if you like. What you can do is you can move it off to the right and left slightly. For most people, this is bang on where the money is, but also, if you've got tightness, real bad tightness, play around with this one. Again, you can do this in your own time. I do this one daily as well. Get it further out, and I'll show you in a second, but we're pinning this down. Just go for it, everybody. If this is nasty and it's making you feel pretty good, okay? It's not good, as in I'm not getting pleasure out of it. Well, maybe I am. Certain faces I'm seeing struggling, it's bringing joy to my day, I won't lie. What was I saying? I don't know what I was saying. It's a pretty effective one in terms of just the sheer amount of force we can get into it, but also the tightness. If you're feeling this one painful, there's obviously a lot of tightness and a lot of tied up muscle tissue high up in the calf there. So get stuck into it, smash it, get it done. And that's only going to benefit further down, okay? So it's a good one to restore law and order to your calves. But also, where's this? This is feeding into our knee, okay? So if there is a lot of tightness in your calves, especially up here, and all that muscle tissue is matted down tight. Now, as much as it looks like I'm just sitting here casually talking to you, I'm putting a hell of a lot of force on here, so make sure you are as well. Make sure you're trying to just get as much compression force. This isn't the one where we can really smash and floss. We can't really scrub. It's just about getting the force, pinning it down, applying it, trying to take it as far as you can, and just grin and bear it, okay? It's like toothache times 100. Crushing, crushing, crushing. So if there's tightness in this area, we're only going to go for another 20 seconds. That's going to be feeding into the knee. That's going to be tugging down and pulling onto that knee joint. So again, if I was getting bothered around my knee as in pain, I'd be working on my calves, I'd be working on my quads, and I'd be working on my hamstrings, especially in and around where it feeds in. Okay, there we go. Ease out. Now, we're just going to simply change legs. What we're not going to do is dedicate this morning to moving it around the one area. That was probably enough for everybody, but like I say, we went center. You can go out a wee bit, and again, it just depends on the width of your leg, okay? But for me, I kind of have to hold the ball in place to get it right, because otherwise it'll just pop out like that, okay? And then all I've got there is skin, okay? Doesn't it feel nice? So you just got to kind of hold it until you feel, oh. To me, and probably for you, you'll probably find if you go to the outers, copy me now, okay? At least get a feel for it. Go to the outer part. Try to keep it in there so it doesn't pop out. You'll feel what I mean by popping out. You'll just feel that all you've got is skin. So try to hold it in there, and you'll probably find that there's a good, maybe it's just me, but there's a good bit of horrible tied up tissue there. Now you can get it right. so that it will eventually hold itself a bit. You can see it just coming out. So a pretty solid bit of muscle. It's needing a bit of work. That might be specific to me, or if you're at home, you're feeling it too, then maybe it's not just me. But I'm seeing some faces, some pain faces, which tells me that there's work to be done. So that tells you that, yep, there's work to be done here. This is painful, this hurts like hell, okay? Now we're gonna change legs, but I'm just showing you that to acquaint you with it. I'm gonna change legs. Simple, again, get it right up there. I want you to get it in between the two tendons of the knee, push it up as high as you can, close the knee off, and then that's it, it's up there, okay? Same again. So if you feel that this one is pretty painful, or you went a wee bit out to the side or inside and it felt like a lot of pain, then put that on your to-do list, okay? That is, if you feel that bad, then that should be your alarm bell. Right, okay, I didn't realise there was so much knotted up tissue up there. It's not causing me any problems right now, but I'm going to get into it. I'm going to restore a bit of order to it. So do that one later on today. So again, pin it. Try to apply as much compression force as you can, and then it's about getting in the best position for you. Now you can see my foot's flat on the floor. I want you to keep your foot flat on the floor. One way to take this up a notch for most people is just to simply start pushing the knee forwards, okay, but keep that foot flat on the floor. We're going to get a lot more force in there, and that's how we can maybe do a little bit, if you like, of kind of scrubbing. We can kind of rock the knee around, but make sure if you're rocking it around, it's not off and on the pain, off the pain, on the pain. It should be pain, hell of a lot more pain, pain, hell of a lot more pain. But again, I can't say it enough, it's sensible. It's the kind of pain we expect. It's discomfort, okay? It's not comfortable, it's not pleasant, but we expect it's isolated to where the ball's pushing in, is what I'm saying. Okay, we shouldn't be getting any other kind of odd pain, like shooting pains, etc., from what we're doing this morning. But that's, again, hopefully common sense to you by now. So go for it. Again, it's all about compression force, this one. It's just about pinning that knotted up tissue and just crushing the hell out of it and trying to get it to relax. But if you think to yourself, I could probably endure a wee bit more discomfort, get more force into the ball, okay? Don't hold it to the point where you're thinking, oh, God, this is hellish. I don't want to keep going. Get into it. Great work, everybody. Okay, right, we're going to ease out of that. Again, have a play around. Just take this next 30 seconds to try putting it closer to the inside. And see, when I say then, I'm literally talking just off of where you went, okay? Just roll the ball a wee bit off of the area you were on. Because if you go too far, like I say, if you look at me now, it's just skin, okay? It's not nice, but I'm not hitting any muscle tissue there. So you may have to hold it in place. You might find that, yeah, you know, that's all right. On the inside, it's all right. Then you go to the outside, and it's hell, or vice versa. That's where I would say to you, it's probably more specific to you. See how things feel. But for me, when I take it to the outside of my knee, it's hellish. But the ball doesn't really hold itself there. It'll just fall out, so you need to do it. Do what works, okay? And that's just a classic case of there's muscle tissue there. There's no right or wrong. If there's pain, there shouldn't be. Get stuck into it. Right, we're done with mobility side of things with the calves and the lower ankles. Now we're going to get stuck into the stretches. Okay, I'm using my bench, a wall. A wall is going to work best for you. A wall and a pair of trainers. Okay, you're going to need, it's better if you've got trainers on, because that rubber sole of your trainer is just going to stick. Okay, if you feel your feet sliding, this will not work. Now, as you can see, all I'm doing is I'm getting the ball of my foot. That's important as well. Not the toes, but the ball of the foot needs to be up on the wall. And this is where, if your ankles are really tight, you're going to struggle with that. So you're going to have to lean back to get your ball of your foot on there. Try to have it pointing perfectly vertical. And then from here, I want you to start pushing the knee forwards. Okay, so if you look at me now, I'm pushing my knee forwards. You may have to pump it a few times, as in and out, if things are that tight, just to encourage it to loosen off a wee bit. And then once you feel you're getting a bit of a stretch, boom, you're on the money. So we're pushing the knee forward, and what I want you to think about here is not getting closer to the wall, as in don't try and get up on top of it more. I want you to try and push the knee forward as far as you can. Now, shuffle forwards by all means to enhance the stretch, but the purpose here is to push the knee forward, and imagine you're trying to push your knee and touch the wall with your knee. okay? Now, just like any other static stretch, it's about taking it as far as you can and trying to take it further over the space of this 2-minute period we're going to be holding it. It's not a case of in and out, in and out, in and out, shake it all about. Make sure where you start and where you finish are two different places. Try to push the knee continually forward. If you want to shift the back leg a wee bit closer to get your body over it more, by all means, if that enhances the stretch, good. But we mustn't lessen the bend in the knee. So with this variation in the knee bend, this is when we're really stretching out the ankle joint itself. You're going to feel that down towards the ankle joint, down towards your Achilles area, and that is where we get a lot of tightness, okay? Now we are going to be doing the calves further up into the gastrocnemius up the top here, and we do that by straightening out the leg, but we're not doing that yet. So that's why we're focusing on that knee bend and pushing that knee continually forward more and more and more. Okay, you might not feel like it's going, but just by trying to move it forward more, you're going to feel the stretch enhance. So from where you started to where you are now, you should feel a greater stretch, okay? Your muscles are relaxed to some degree to allow you to go further forward more. Good work. But don't just pin and hold it. Take it further. You have to be proactively thinking, take it further, take it further. Good, and I want you to slowly ease out of that, okay? Now I want you to walk around first before we change sides, because that's going to feel pretty nasty if you've done it properly, because we've just restricted the blood flow. So walk around until you feel if you're getting that kind of discomfort in the joint itself from being stretched. Walk around until, shake the leg out until you feel it's restored. And then I'm going to change legs, okay? Now remember, you have to have a good setup. If your setup's crap, your stretch is going to be crap. So most people sometimes say, oh, I can't feel a stretch. I just don't seem to get that one. This is the simplest stretch you can do. So if you're not feeling it, you're probably set up wrong. Or your ankles are that tight that you can't bend them, okay? In which case you're going to have to start just rocking forwards, off and on, just to try to ease it off a wee bit. As you can see I'm doing now. And then hopefully you start to feel that stretch. But remember, the purpose is the aim is to get your knee and push it forwards. And I want you to push it forwards towards your toes. So don't let the knee cave in. Don't let the knee collapse in the way. That's important. Push forwards, aiming for the toes, trying to hit the wall. Let's get it done. Okay, so remember, it's further and further and further. You should be feeling this down on the ankle joint itself. And if things are that tight, it might take a wee bit before you actually feel a stretch sensation. Keep going with it. Keep pushing that knee forwards. If it's feeling jammed up tight, if it's feeling really restrictive, you need to do this daily, okay? You need to do it daily. It's not enough to do this now and then forget about it until we do it again. That's what I mean about ankle mobility. Look at everything we've done this morning. Yep, it's taken us, about half an hour just to do the ankles, but it doesn't have to take half an hour every day. Look at all the movements we've done. They're simple. They don't require any setup. Use a stair. You can sit off the edge of a stair to stretch out the ankles. It's not as effective as this, but you can do it and it can be done, and you are going to get a benefit of doing that overnight. So if you've got stairs in your house, again, how many times are you up and down the stairs in a day? Stop halfway up. Let's crack some ankle stretches briefly. Doesn't need to be all day. Just start being conscious about it. If your ankle mobility right now is terrible, start being conscious about it. And if that means you have to write a note and stick it to the mirror that you look at yourself at every day and write ankle mobility, just to remind yourself, then do it, okay? Sounds ridiculous, but it works. Plant that seed. Hold yourself accountable. If your ankles are bad, fix them, okay? You've got the tools at your disposal to fix them. Good, right, ease out of that one. Again, shake out. Okay, I want you to walk around and shake out until that kind of uncomfortable feeling goes away. Right, we're going into exactly, excuse me, exactly the same setup, but this time we're going to be keeping the legs straight. So by keeping the legs straight, you're going to feel the stretch in the actual calves higher up in this area, or indeed the full length a lot more. So I'm going to go back to the leg I started on. Same setup, so it's important. You need to have a good setup. Test your setup. If you push whoosh, into that foot, it shouldn't budge. Okay, if it slides down the wall, you've got a bad setup and you're just going to find that the stretch is not the best because you're going to slide out of it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm exactly the same setup as shown, but I'm keeping my knee locked out. Now when I say locked out, I don't want you to try and break your knee, okay? Just have it locked out without any undue stress on it. Don't push and end up hurting yourself here. So I'm keeping my knee locked out, and if you look at me now, I'm just going to start shuffling, trying to keep your body up nice and tall, nice and proud, and I'm just going to start shuffling forwards towards the wall, or whatever you're using, until I feel a stretch running up there, okay? Now remember, I'm trying to keep my knee locked out, don't bend it. When you feel that maybe you can't go any further because the wall's in your way, you can lean forward a wee bit if you don't have a wall, okay? But if not, you just have to try and shuffle and then push down. Push the knee back a bit and get a good stretch on there. But for most of us, if you're able to get pretty flush with the wall and you've got the ball of the foot on the wall, then you've probably got pretty decent flexibility in your ankles anyway, in your calves. So you're doing no bad. Bigger problems to have. Okay, so we should be feeling this a bit higher up now, okay? It's not to say you won't feel it in the ankles if your ankles are still that tight. But remember, do what you can. You've got the stretch sensation now. What you should be doing for the next 90 seconds is enhancing it or trying to enhance it. It's not a static hold. You're trying to develop your mobility, your flexibility here. You're trying to take it further. So do just that. Enhance the stretch any way you can, taking it further and further and further. Making sure you don't start bending the knee. Good. Very much large focus on just the lower leg. But again, that is where most of the problems occur with people. Right, same again, shake out, walk around. When it starts to feel all right and it's eased off, change. Straight into it when you're ready. Ball of the foot on the wall, knee nice and straight, and then just start your shuffle with that straight leg forwards until you feel that stretch reflex kick in. From there, when it feels pretty uncomfortable, that's your starting point. Keeping that leg straight, just start enhancing the stretch for the next 2 minutes. So if you're following this class along, we can't possibly do every single muscle group in depth like we've just done the lower leg in an hour's class. But the previous class we've done the posterior chain, we smashed the lower back, we smashed the glutes, and we smashed the hamstrings. Look at that as part 2 of this, or part 1 if you like. Because what we're not going to do is repeat what we just done on Tuesday's class, okay? But I will talk about it as we go. As in, we do not have time to foam roll and smash the hamstrings, stretch them out, smash the groin, stretch it out, smash the glutes, stretch them out. But for most people, ankle, lower leg mobility, that is the biggest factor in your squat, how you move and the depth of your squat. And then number 2 is the groin. Okay, most people's groin adductors are so jammed up tight that they can't open up the hips effectively. They can't pull their knees apart. And I'll show you the telltale signs of that bad boy in a minute. Right, finish up there. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed our wee ankle rehab, if you like. Now we're going to move on to the groin. So the small one's really ankle and groin. But, you know, like I say, it ties in nicely with Tuesday's class. So if you haven't done the Mobility Overhaul 87 on the posterior chain, get stuck into that too, okay? Because that's going to help you in identify any problem areas within those areas. But for most people with squats, it's ankles and groin are the two main factors affecting things. But everybody's different, everybody's unique, okay? That's not to say those are the things that are affecting you. Your hamstrings might be so tight that when you start to descend into a squat, pulling your pelvis forwards underneath your body, okay? For example, there's many factors that could affect your squat, but this is probably the ones that are affecting most people's squats. So let that be known now. Right, I want you to grab the foam roller. Grab the foam roller. We're going to get stuck into the groin here. Right, we're getting stuck into the groin. Where exactly the groin is. You know where the groin is. It's the inseam. Inseam. I want you to start, everybody, middle of the leg, okay? If you go any lower towards the knee, you're going to hit the quads. We've got the quads here. That's exactly what you're going to hit here. There's going to be a lot of pain and discomfort. We're not attacking that this morning. I want you to start halfway up your leg and work your way inwards to the realms and depths of your gooch, okay? If that's a technical term, I don't know, but that's the only one I can think of that's maybe family friendly. So get yourself on the foam roller. As you can see, I'm here. I've got my leg up at 90 degrees. Yep. Find that area I'm talking about, okay? You can see I'm starting halfway up my leg on my inseam. Your foot's pretty much on the floor. Now what I want you to imagine you're doing is trying to get your knee to touch the floor, okay? So I'm going to imagine that I'm bending that bone around the foam roller, okay? And that's going to apply a good bit of compression force to the foam roller. Now what I want you to do is just start working your way, just like we do in any other muscle group. I'm showing you the starting point. The end point is literally as far into your gooch as you can get. For most people, it's going to be more in the depths and realms of your gooch where the tightness is, okay? So get stuck into there now. So all I'm doing, I can start scrubbing by going up and down. But remember, you're not concerning yourself you're concerning yourself with areas of high pain. It's as simple as that. So get yourself on the foam roller. As soon as you find any tightness or any discomfort, get stuck into it. Get that compression force, drive downwards into the foam roller, okay, and scrub. But remember, we're trying to stay on the inseam. Don't venture on the top of your quads. And this is probably for most people an uncomfortable one. It can be an awkward one. So try to get your body in a relaxed position as best you can. And remember, it's just done off of feel. It can take a bit of work to really get in the realms, into the depth of that muscle tissue. Don't forget your scrubbing. You can roll up and down on it, okay? Just pump that leg up and down a little bit. Maybe help you just get in a bit deeper to the muscle tissue. And position your body in the best way you can to get as much weight down onto that foam roller as you can. So in terms of the groin, the adductors are the general area of, we've got a lot of tightness in there. A lot of people pull that area out. Footballers especially, and I'm not talking top end footballers, I'm talking your, go play a five-a-side on a Thursday night and you just go straight into it. You start sprinting, you start kicking the ball, demanding a full range of movement from your groin. Your groin's jammed up tight, and then it pulls. But not only that, in terms of squatting, which is what this is all about this morning, a lot of people lack the range initially, or considerably, in the groin. You pull your knees apart if you feel tightness, which most people do. Then you need to get stuck into your groin the same way. And again, a lot of people don't. Some people do and they get better. But one thing I have noticed about mobility is the same people that aren't good at mobility. Foam roller's gone. Right, change legs. For a lot of people with bad mobility, they've got bad mobility forever because they do hee-haw about it. And again, the motivator is knowing that you could do so much better, you could perform so much better, you could be prone to much less injury, you could be getting a lot more out of your exercise. Simply just doing a few stretches and a bit of foam rolling. That's all the motivation I need. And just like anything, for a lot of people, it's not until you start to see a bit of progress that that's what gets you your hook in, and that's when you start getting motivated to do it yourself. Or you start getting injured, okay? That's another motivator, and it certainly is one for me. And why mobility is certainly taking a forefront of any training that I'm doing is injury. That's the motivator. When you start getting niggles and pains, all of a sudden you start thinking, oh man, I really took it for granted when I didn't have that niggle or pain. And for a lot of us, we've got the power to do something about it. Obviously, this is not a professional diagnosis. Don't go and start foam rolling a broken leg. But a lot of us have got the knowledge now to improve any problem areas we experience, any niggles and pains. We can self-manage a lot of them and we recover from them quicker. But like I say, if you're exercising in a day and things are feeling good, no niggles, no pains, no stiffness, no tightness, remember that day and just think, oh, I would love to be able to keep training like this. Let that be your motivator for mobility and flexibility work. And like I say, the number one excuse is most people don't have time. Most people have got a choice between a circuit or a workout or foam rolling. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can incorporate a couple of drills into your warm-up. You can incorporate a couple of drills into your cool down. And you can incorporate it into your daily life. Okay, it doesn't have to be an hour's mobility class. The idea of these mobility classes are, it's education. It's giving you a chance to get to know how to work certain areas, how to improve certain areas, identify your own problem areas, and give you something to work on. Because I certainly don't sit for an hour every night and do all this stuff. But I do for 10 to 15 minutes, I can tell you that for nothing, working on my own little problem areas, which change on a daily to weekly basis, as you will know if you push your body. Right, okay everybody, we're done on that. So now we're going to get stuck into the flexibility side. Hopefully you got something from it. It's a pretty uncomfortable one, but you're going to need a decent mat now for this, because we're going to do our good old classic kneeling groin stretch, which again, for most people now, is a staple and a familiar one. This is us getting the groin, isolating the stretch to the groin and using gravity, okay? We can chill out on this one, as in we don't have to hold a stress position. You can just get into the stretch and get the job done. So from here, it's about getting the knees as wide as you can. You can see that my feet are pretty much behind my knees, okay? They're not sitting in here. I recommend that you get them so that there's enough room to go back. The top of your toes, the top of your foot, make sure the top of your foot's pretty much flush with the ground here, okay? So don't be up on the tiptoes. From here, imagine you're setting up in a plank position. So I've got my spine nice and neutral, especially around the hips. And then all I'm doing here, while I'm maintaining that nice neutral back, is pushing my hips back the way. So I'm going to imagine that I'm trying to get my tailbone to tap the wall, behind me. Because what you mustn't let happen is, again, if you can see me now, is if I start to hit the extreme where things are feeling tight, I start to feel my pelvis starting to pull down underneath my body and starting to curve my lower back. And all I'm doing there, if you look like me now, is you're giving into the tightness that you're trying to address. So lift the pelvis up, keep the pelvis lifted up, keep the stretch enhanced in at the groin, Now, what you do with your arms is up to you. What I want to make sure is that I don't have a lot of weight in my arms. I want that weight to be on my knees. I want gravity to be sinking me down and getting a good stretch on my groin. So try to put your arms in a position that's comfortable, but that's specific to you. You just don't want a lot of weight on your arms. You want to feel like most of this weight is on your hips and knees, letting gravity pull down into a good stretch here. So again, it's very easy on this one to take it to the point where it's stretching and just hang about there. We're trying to develop our range of movement, so I want you to try to take it further, and this is where it's pretty uncomfortable. But remember, when you are taking it further, make sure you don't start to let that pelvis dip down. You don't always feel that, so just simply try and just make sure you're lifting that pelvis up as you push back. And when you lift that pelvis up, you'll probably find that you enhance the stretch anyway. So again, pretty obvious what we're trying to stretch. Be proactive and get it done. Focus on your breathing. Try to get in a pattern with your breathing and use that as your focus rather than just the discomfort. So again, there's other factors that could be affecting your squat. And when I say squat, I'm talking just your general body weight squat. Because if you can't squat with body weight properly, if you can't hit good depth, hold good form with a body weight squat, you shouldn't even be dreaming of putting a bar on your back, which demands even greater mobility in your ankles and hips and upper body as well. I'm talking just your general squat mechanics. No weight, no type of squat, front squat, back squat. Just a regular body weight squat. This is what we're trying to address because that's the foundation of every squatting movement anyway. So if your ankles are tight, your hips are tight, we need to improve that. When you start doing a lot of the weighted variations, such as squatting with a bar on your back, you require even greater mobility in your ankles and your groin. So if you're having issues with, for example, your back squat, as in you're squatting with a weight on your back, that's where it gets, I wouldn't say more complicated, but there's a few more factors at play there, okay? Could be that your chest and shoulders are tight, you can't hold the bar properly, there's a lot of tension across those muscle groups because they're so tight when you're trying to hold the bar. And as a result, when you squat to depth, that's pulling you forwards, it's pulling you out of line. So don't look at this as a specific exercise mobility, if you like. This is just your regular squat mechanics, which if you're doing back squats, front squats, goblet squats, this is only going to help improve all the more. Right, ease out slowly, evenly, okay? So come back out of it evenly. Don't lean off to the side, don't lean onto one leg. Good, okay? And again, I want you to test and adjust what you've just done. We've just hammered the ankles, everybody. We've hammered the ankles in depth. We've hammered the groin, okay? So straight away from those two muscle groups, you should be able to feel yourself. You should feel a difference, sorry. You should feel a difference. Now, when I'm saying you should feel a difference, if it's bad, you should feel a difference. If it's good, you should feel a difference. But you shouldn't, if it's not a miracle, okay? You're not just going to go from, you know, squatting like this to squatting like this in 1 hour's class. It's going to take time. If your ankles are jammed up that tight, if your groin's jammed up that tight, it's going to take little and often. Break it into your day, okay? And like I say, ankle mobility, the thing that gripes me the most is the amount of people with bad ankle mobility, the amount of people to see on a daily basis that can't perform movement patterns because of bad ankle mobility. Okay, not because of disability, because of ankle mobility, something that can easily be addressed. It's an easy one to throw into your day, okay? It requires no major setup. You can do it up against the wall, you can do it on the ground. It doesn't take any major you going out your way to fix. But yet there's a lot of people constantly pulling muscles in the lower leg, getting knee pain, okay, moving terribly when it could be fixed so easily, okay? Just little and often is all I'm asking of you, please. Please, for yourself, just do it. Right, we're done. Thank you very much, and hopefully that helped. As I said, this would blend in very nicely with Tuesday's Mobility 87, which was posterior chain, and that's where we're hitting the hamstrings, the glutes, and the lower back pretty in depth. So that would only benefit your squat also, especially if your hamstrings are tight. they are going to affect you at the lower part of your squat. You're going to find that your pelvis will maybe start to get pulled out of line, something you don't always feel, but you can see it. And that's why I recommend, you know, squat side on to a mirror with no weight, because you don't want to be squatting, looking at yourself. That's dangerous, okay? But if you are maybe someone who likes to lift weights, get a camera set up, take your phone and put it on side on with you and take a few videos of you doing a few sets, okay? And you can see how you're moving. No, it's nothing to do with posing, okay? It gets you a chance to see side on exactly how you're moving, right? Okay, that's obviously, it goes back to what I was telling you about. In your head, things can feel nice and balanced and central, but in actual fact, what's happening might be completely different. So if you don't have a mirror side on, or if you're in the gym and you're doing a workout on your heavier sets, for example, set up a camera side on, record it, play it back, have a look, and you can see straight away how you are truly moving, and then you can start to work out, right, okay, I'm falling forwards, I didn't even realise that bar's falling out of my midline, my ankles must be tight because I can see that I'm starting to struggle to bend my knee further. Anyway, just a few tips for people who might be benefiting from it. Thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed that. And again, it doesn't have to be an hour's class. You can do 2 minutes of stretching each time you go up the stair. You can, when you're sat down hee-haw, get that ball, jam it into your knee, watch the telly while you're smashing your ankles or something like that. Try to incorporate it into things that you're doing rather than set time aside for it that you might not commit to in the end. Have a good day. See you later. See you at Mobility 89.